concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. There was a power outage at my house a couple days ago, and my GoPro that lives in the corner of the room and is plugged into a USB adapter 24. It's been on for probably months by now, but I left the battery in it once. I used to keep a battery in this GoPro, and then after a while, it kind of was behaving weird. And I was like, what's going on? I mean, it turned out that the battery had, if you leave a battery in a GoPro and you leave it plugged into a charger for months, the battery swells up super big from being at full charge for too long. And you could barely get the damn thing out of the GoPro. So that was a little bit of a hazard. So now the GoPro doesn't have a battery in it, and it just is plugged into the USB forever and ever and ever. But when the power goes out, then it's not on. It doesn't turn itself back on again. Is there a way to set a GoPro to automatically turn itself on when the power is applied? I don't know. But it's okay. We're going to get our shit together. We're going to get our shit together. We're going to put it all in a backpack. Wow. You see? Look right there. It's summer, boys. It's 8 p.m., but it's still light outside. You see the light coming in through the curtains? 8 p.m., but it's still light outside. It's summer, boys! And ladies. And men. Now, oh. Okay, hang on. That wasn't right. Now, I know what the biggest topic of the evening is. I gotta clean myself up. I gotta clean myself up before Rampage. Man. Oh, man, I'm looking sloppy. Wow. Oh, did I record a video like this today? I apologize. You know you expect so much more from me. But anyway. I know what the news of the day is. We'll talk about it. Don't worry. But before we do that, we have a few things to get out of the way, and one of them is to say thank you to you beautiful people for showing up. Wow. Oh yeah, that's me right there. That's me right there. That's oh yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I look like. Hang on. Let me just. Yeah, nope, that's it. That's you know what? I don't want to risk getting a guideline strike by showing you. But that's pretty much what I look like. That's pretty much. Hang on a second. I got it. I got something for you.
At any moment, you could give like a 5-minute speech on.
A lot of us in the United States are wearing the wrong clothes. Our clothing trends are largely based off of East Coast, West Coast, and European styles. However, if you're living in places where it's 90 degrees with 60% humidity, unless you're in air-conditioned environments, most of the time you're going to sweat right through what you're wearing. Had we developed trends locally that would have made more sense for our environment, we would be wearing more flowing clothes that would be better for the humidity. But instead, we're just wearing what people are wearing in cooler climates, or we're wearing less of that, and as a result, we're all uncomfortable and we're always sweaty all the time.
Oh, you guys didn't know what you were missing over on my TikTok. Oh, you guys didn't know what you were missing. Oh, there's fashion commentary.
The ball
there's algebra.
The bet's $1 more than the ball. How much is the bet? Okay. Here we go.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to give you the solution. I'm just going to say there's some algebra.
Are $1.10. The bat.
You guys are missing out. You're really missing out. Oh, this one's not. That one's not public. Oh man. Yeah. All right. Well, go check that out if you want to see the kind of content you don't get on my YouTube channel. Occasionally, I do FPV content too.
Let's fly through this billboard.
Okay. Going up or down?
All right. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. Thank you so much for that. Beautiful. Yeah, Jack Black. Wait a minute. Jack Black is. Okay. I'll take Jack Black. I could do a lot worse than Jack Black. I mean, he's no Ryan Reynolds. Alright. Anyway. Thank you guys so much for coming out. This is you. I'm going to be reading your questions. This is what we're doing here. Believe it or not, we do not just spend the whole night looking at my TikTok. You guys ask questions. I'm going to answer your questions. If you guys want to make sure I get your question, hit a $sign right here. Leave a super chat. Throw a couple bucks at me. And YouTube. They take like half of them, I think. Half the super chats. And I'll be reading these a little later in the stream. That's the way to make sure. And, of course, these beautiful folks over here on the right side of the screen in my Discord server, they are my patrons. And they get the special privilege of having half my screen. Half for the people who pay me, half for the people who don't. That's fair. Some would say that's not very fair. Hang on a second. Here's what we're going to do. Okay. And... okay, there we go. We'll give just a little bit more for the people who pay me. There we go. That's proportional. Thank you guys so much. I'll be taking questions from y'all as well. No, I can't do that. I can't bear for my screen not to be symmetrical. It's unacceptable. Okay. Should we talk about the thing? Should we talk about the thing? We're going to talk about the thing. Hello? Where's that? Where? Dominator. Fat Shark, can I please have the email? There we go. Did you get this email today? The Fat Shark Dominator is back, baby. Coming this Friday. The Fat Shark Dominator is back. By the way, I will be at Rampage, in case you haven't figured that out yet. I will be at Rampage. Here's the schedule. Apparently, someone was talking to me and was like, man, you got a lot on the schedule. I was like, do I? I should probably look at the schedule and figure out where I'm supposed to be. Fat Shark Dominator is back. You click it, it leads to this screen. Get ready for the Dominator. 3 days, 12 hours, 50 minutes, 26 seconds. If my math is right, that's roughly Friday morning. What is it? Well, it's Blunty posted some pictures. Where did he post them, folks? I know that he sent them to me. He sent them to me in private, in a private conversation. Some pictures. Yeah, B-Man FPV just figured it out. There will not be a stream. Wait, no, it's not going to interrupt the stream. Sunday, there will be no stream Sunday, and possibly Monday there will be a stream. Or depending on when I get back. I may or may not get back in time for Monday. Did I schedule a stream for Monday? No. Did I? There will be news on the 17th, though. I should make sure. That's not important right now. There won't be a stream on the 15th for sure, because I will be at Rampage. It's possible there will be a stream on the 16th, but don't count on it. And then on the 17th, we will be doing the news. I will be back by then. Where did Blunty post those things? Here we go. So Blunty's got some posts on his page, including this Globe Newswire, Red Cat Holdings subsidiary. Fat Sharks will launch innovative Dominator drone FPV goggle. Joining blah, blah, blah. Dominator will be at Rotor Riot Rampage. And they've got some information about the system, calling it a low-latency 1080p digital goggle with extended flight range over existing systems. Dominator headsets and systems will be available for pre-order soon and are expected to start shipping in June. Dominator headsets and systems. So this is interesting. It's a 1080p digital goggle, headsets and systems. Now, Mads Tech has a video where he does a really nice deep dive, and it's a lot of speculation because he doesn't have hard information, but he does a really nice sort of breakdown of things that might or might not be true about this system. I'm going to just show you Mads Tech on YouTube. New Fat Shark goggles. And when I first heard about this, I immediately started speculating. In fact, if you look at I don't remember where the Facebook thread was. There's a Facebook thread this morning about 11 a.m. where I started speculating about certain things about these goggles. Like, for example, Blunty's got some pictures here. You can see that they have RP-SMA connectors on them, whereas HC0 goggles have SMA. DJI goggles have RP-SMA. Some people, this morning at about 11 a.m. I commented, isn't that interesting? But here's why I don't have a lot. I'm not going to have a lot to say about this. Because later that afternoon, I received some information about the system, the goggles, the system. I received some information about it, but it was under the requirement that I then not share that information. And as part of that, in the spirit of that, I'm also not going to speculate. Because if you know that I have information and then I speculate in a certain direction, you will assume that I was steering you in a certain direction based on that knowledge, and that wouldn't be a scrupulous thing to do. But I will say that this video from Mads Tech pretty much sums up everything I thought at about 11 this morning when I first heard about these goggles, before I received any insider information. So instead of commenting on it and potentially being thought to have, violated someone's trust, instead I'm just going to let you watch this video. I'll put a link in the... But don't go, because I'm watching my analytics. Don't leave. But anyway, that's some good information. The bottom line is, no, I didn't. Abraham said, he said the word goggles, then corrected himself and said system. That's straight out of this thing here. So don't read too much into that, or read as much into it as you want. It doesn't mean anything. They say existing systems, Dominator headsets and systems. So they've established that there is a headset and system. I could tell you, though, that we're all going to find out when Rampage happens. And, you know, the first public demonstration will be at Rotor Riot Rampage 2022. That's in the press release. And so that is just a few days from now, and it will be interesting to see what there is to say about that. Well, here's the thing, Wesley Vardy. Wesley Vardy says, wow, teasing everybody by saying that you know, but then saying you won't tell. Yeah. So here's the thing. This morning, I was going to go into this live stream with a lot of analysis and speculation. And then this afternoon, I was given the opportunity to find out facts, but I couldn't talk about it anymore. And so I chose that path. But if I don't talk about it, then y'all will be like, why isn't he talking about it? So I'm just going to be honest. There you go. Now I'm being honest. Mike Bergman says, I would literally give my left testicle for DJI optics in the HDO2 frame. I mean, DJI uses like 2-inch screens, right? The DJI goggles use like 2-inch screens. There's no way they would fit in a goggle as small as the HDO. It's not, I mean, it defies physics. Alrighty. So in case you hadn't heard, that's happening. If you're coming to Rampage, then you will presumably get to see the first public demonstration and decide for yourself what you think of it. And if you're not coming to Rampage, then like it doesn't take a genius to see that the reason that they're premiering it at Rampage is so that a whole bunch of people will make social media about it. So I expect that this weekend you will see posts from every single person at Rampage talking about this, and you'll be able to see what the deal is. All right. Okay, let's continue. Travis Sowell has a question. Luminaire Lux F7 is flipping to the right. Motor orientation correct. Motor prop directions correct. So Travis, 90% of the time, maybe more, when someone says, my quad insta-flips when I arm, I checked everything. It turns out they didn't check everything. So Travis, there's a high probability that you think you checked everything, but you didn't. Here's what people do is they look at the motors and they go, yeah, the motor directions are right. Because they're props in, but they forget that they changed this flight controller to props out once upon a time. But they just, all my builds are props in. They don't even think it consciously. They just check the props and they shortcut it. So you have to check all of those things very carefully. That's the bottom line. It's possible that it's a bad gyro, but it's unlikely. It's not impossible, though. Are they doing a live stream at Rampage? No, I don't think so, Shadow Rider. I think the intention is that people will make content about the demonstration and share it on social media and so forth. Terminal Insanity has been trying Terminal Insanity to get me to talk about this issue with the Diatone Mamba, not the Diatone Mamba, the Mambo, the TBS Mambo radio, that the display is not the same size as advertised. I don't care. Is it a 3-inch screen instead of a 3.5-inch screen? Is it a 3 3/4? Is it 3 1/4? I don't care if the screen size is different than advertised. It just is. It's a screen and it's in a radio. I didn't buy it because I cared that the screen was exactly 3.5 inches. Or terminal insanity, you could stop beating around the bush and just tell me. Like, I'm not going to pull the radio out and pull out a ruler and a calipers and measure it. You could just tell me the thing that you want me to know instead of being coy about it. Feel free. But you've emailed me and messaged me enough times about that. It's clearly very important to you, so I wanted to acknowledge it. Measure the screen diagonally. That's how you measure a screen. I mean, valid. Valid. No, you weren't the one emailing me? Okay, well, it's got to be somebody else then. Multiple people think this is an important issue. What's the issue? Tell me the issue. Now I want to know. What is it about the system, about the screen, that is interesting? Hey, Phantom FPV. Good to see you, man. Good to see you at Rampage. Phantom's coming to Rampage. The real screen size is much smaller than advertised. Hold on a second. All right, you got me. You got me. You got me. However, what does it advertise? 3.5 inches? All right. The screen size on the TBS Mambo. Ah, fuck. Sorry. The screen size is advertised at what? You got to look up what it's advertised. 3.5-inch LCD panel. Thank you. 3.5-inch LCD panel. Diagonally, it is exactly 3.5 inches from corner to corner. Exactly. So is the issue that it's 3.5 inches bezel to bezel, but they shrunk the bezel? No, because this is a Gen 1. Oh, there's no batteries in it. I can't turn it on very easily. Can I plug it in? I can plug it in. Maybe it'll light up. So maybe you're arguing. Come on, turn on. Okay. Welcome to Mambo. So you certainly could argue. I mean, I can see the edges of the screen here. I think you could argue that it's actually, if you actually look at the visible display area, it's actually closer to 3 inches. But the actual display area is closer to 3 inches. Whereas if you take into account the bezel, here it's 3.5. Okay. Is that the issue? Is that what we're freaking out about? Fair enough. The reason I wanted people in the comments think that you're measuring it this way, vertically, which is not how you measure a screen. I mean, it's off by, looks to me like it's off by a 1/2 inch, maybe a little more even, maybe 5/8 of an inch. People in metric are just dying right now. Damn it! I want my money back. No, who cares? Who cares? I don't understand. I don't understand. There we go, though. Now you know. Now you know. It's 3 inches instead of 3.5 inches. It says it's a 3.5-inch LCD panel. Is there some way? I mean, that's what they advertise it as, Bastian Sonderman. They advertise it in inches. Is there some way in which touchscreen panels are measured by their total size, not their viewable area? I mean, wait a minute. Well, this one's... Hang on. This one's being measured... Wait a minute. Oh, my God. 3 point... Why is this 3.5-inch touchscreen being measured horizontally? That's not how it's done. Well, horizontally... Oh, it's about 3 inches. A little less. 3.5. No, 2.5. Horizontally, it's 2.5 inches. Well, which is it? Is it 2.5 inches? Is it 3 inches? Is it 3.5 inches? I don't care. I don't care. Okay. It should be measured. Screens are measured diagonally. That's always how it's done, isn't it? Well, I don't know if we're going to get dimensions. So we get a data sheet for this one. This is a 3.5-inch TFT display. Active area. Now wait a minute. How can you sell me a 3.5-inch display and then give me the active area in millimeters? Now you're mixing units, and I'm really annoyed. Okay, let's do the math. 70 millimeters. 70 millimeters to inches is 2.7 inches. So if this was a 3.5 inch, it would be 2.7. Oh, no, that's dead on. Yeah, that's dead on. That's dead on the viewable area. So here we go. Here we go. This is a random quote-unquote 3.5-inch LCD, which has a width of its actual viewing area of 70 millimeters, and that actually matches the specs on the Mambo. That actually matches the Mambo. So when TBS advertises this as a 3.5-inch LCD, that's consistent with how the data sheet presumably listed it. And there's some weird thing where apparently you buy a 3.5-inch LCD and you only get 2.7 inches width of screen. But again, who cares? I don't care. Like, of all the ways that you might be mad that TBS was ripping you off, this is like the least consequential, in my opinion. Moving on. I mean, right now, you look at televisions and they're like, this is a 65-inch class television. And I'm like, what does that mean? Is it 65 inches or isn't it? Well, it's a 65-inch class. Well, I'm going to pay you with a dollar class currency. It's only worth 70 cents, but it's in the dollar class. No? Okay. It doesn't matter. Alrighty. I mean, here, I'm down. Give me a reason to accuse a manufacturer of being dishonest and get all self-righteous. I will take it. But this just isn't that. All right. Moving on. 661 FPV says. Ouch. 661 FPV says the gimbals suck, tracer sucks, the button sucks. But yeah, complain about the screen. Your words, not mine. Alrighty, we got a bunch of super chats coming in, and we're almost a half hour into the show. It's time to read the super chats. I'll see you when we're done. Shadow Rider, thank you for a $5 super chat. I need an adapter recommendation. I have a Beta FPV 95X V3, and I need to get a cable in to remove the props and motor to get a cable plugged in. Oh, you need a USB. So what I like to use is... Let's see if I have a video about this. I do. So, Shadow Rider, what I like to use is this magnetic... Now, you don't have to buy this exact one. What was I doing with my color grade back then? Look how dark, look how contrasty my color grade is. Why did I think this was good? Look how dark those blacks are. You can barely see anything here. Well, anyway, I hadn't figured it out yet. I hadn't figured out how to actually have dynamic range from my camera yet. This was the same camera, too. Anyway, it's this magnetic little doohickey here. And you stick that into your Cinewhoop. And then you could just kind of fish it in there. See that right there? And then you just kind of take the cable and you fish it in there and it snaps to. And that's what I suggest you use if you think that'll work for you. Riet9 is grossed out by my fingernails. Too bad. I'm a working man. Sometimes I have dirt under my fingernails. Go work in the yard for a while. Clean up after the sheep, whatever you were doing. And then tell me how clean your fingernails are. Get used to it. That's life. Lewis, thanks for a $5 super chat. Named so nice, his mom named him twice. Muyaho FPV, thank you for 2,501, I think. How are you? I'm very well, thank you so much. Kevin Nebus, thank you for $10. I blame you for getting me into this hobby. Here's a thank you. Thank you for the donation, Kevin. Travis Sowell, thanks for a $5 super chat. Josh Fisk, thanks for a $2 super chat. Josh Fisk wants to know, is this new Fat Shark goggle more or less of a game changer than DJI FPV? Well, I guess we're going to find out at Rotor Riot Rampage when they demonstrate it. Here's the thing, though, and I'll say this because this is honestly exactly what I have said many times in the past about many different things, and so I'm not revealing any new information when I say this, and that is that on the day a product releases, it's difficult to judge, how good it's going to be or how it's going to play out, right? I mean, HD0 has gotten a lot better since it first came out. When HD0 first came out, it showed promise, but it wasn't as good as it is today, and it hopefully will be better 6 months from now than it is today. DJI got better. DJI was good when it first came out. It got better. So, frankly, regardless of what we see this weekend, it will be hard to know what it means for the future, because at the end of the day, things have to play out. So, but we'll all find out this weekend if it's a game changer or not, or if it has potential to be a game changer. Oh, Josh Fisk's like, oh, that doesn't sound good. No, I'm telling you, I'm not going to give you any hints or winks. The only thing I'll say is the stuff that doesn't give you any information. So, Rick Kennedy, thank you for a $20 super chat. Just want to say thanks for all you do. Looking forward to Rampage. See you there. I'll see you there. Maybe. I recently put out a video, and I looked at this video. I posted this video actually on my Facebook. I put out a video saying, what would this is, by the way, thank you to Blunty. Thank you to It's Blunty. He's taken over the Clips channel. If you didn't know, I have a Livestream Clips channel. Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips. Go subscribe to it. I'd love to have you. Oh, we've got almost to 2,000 subscribers. Please subscribe if you want Livestream Clips, little highlights. Blunty rewatches every live stream at 2x speed and finds the clips and the cool parts and cuts them out. And I went back and I watched this video today, which just by coincidence came out on the Livestream Clips channel, where I talk about Fat Shark. Like, someone asked, like, if Fat Shark released an HDO3, what would it be? And I need to be very clear that at the time that this happened, I did not know anything about this. I didn't even know this system existed. I literally found out about this system first thing this morning when I got the email, the same as you, from the Rotor Riot mailing list. And then later this afternoon, I had a call where I was let in on some concrete information about it. So that's you can't go back and watch this video and like read any tea leaves. There were no tea leaves. I went back and watched this and I thought, you know, what is, what does this tell us about Fat Shark and my thoughts about Fat Shark? And my thoughts about Fat Shark are that they were at the end of an analog development cycle, and then HD0 was going to be sort of their savior and catapult them into the next generation. And that then when HD0 separated from them, where does that leave them? How do they get to the next generation? And they said something about, in an investor's call, about working on new technology. And I was like, yeah, what is that? Another HDO goggle? Another analog goggle? So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, given their announcement today. Lewis got a question here from you. There was no question on your previous super chat, just so you know. I wasn't ignoring you if you left one. Thank you for another $5 super chat. I'm replacing my Fat Shark Scout goggles with the HDO2 with rapid fire module. Can I expect better range? I think yes, Lewis. I do think that the HDO2 and rapid fire module will have better usable range because rapid fire has the signal combining technology and the Scout does not. That being said, the Scout is not actually bad. It's got a built-in patch antenna. But with rapid fire, I think I would hope to get better range. Yeah, the big question that Madstech brought up is, when they say digital goggle, do they mean it's a new digital FPV system, or do they mean it's a digital goggle, but it's really an analog goggle? It's just got a computer in it, like digital goggle. That is the big question. Kent J in the Discord. I'm sure a lot of people can agree with this chat comment. Seems like it would be a big stretch for Fat Shark to drop a new digital system without any leaks happening. Didn't we know about the DJI system weeks before it dropped? I can't honestly remember how many leaks there were about the DJI system. DJI, there are usually a few leaks a few weeks before it releases. Maybe a month or two before it releases at most. And it feels like the leaks are a very calculated part of DJI's strategy. But like the DJI Action 2, right before it released, like it was in one of Peter McKinnon's videos and then he blurred it out. Like literally weeks before it dropped, there were a few leaks and then boom, there it was. So DJI FPV drone, like there were not very many leaks about it. DJI does a really good job of clamping down on stuff, so I don't think they're the best example. What is fake digital? Says Louis Hurtado. So Louis Hurtado, let's say that I have a set of analog goggles, but the goggles have an LCD screen in them, or an OLED screen in them, that is controlled by a computer. Well, then are they digital goggles? And you could take a 1080p screen and put it in your digital goggles, and although the goggles are just analog goggles, you could, if you were unscrupulous, you could advertise it as a 1080p digital goggle. I mean, that's the kind of thing an unscrupulous advertiser would do. That's the fake digital Louis Hurtado that people are wondering whether that's what Fat Shark is doing. Danzilla the Terrible, thank you for a 10 Canadian dollars super chat. I'm using Howell's Betaflight fork to display LQ and RSSI in the DJI goggles. Most of the time it only displays RSSI DBM. instead of the actual numbers. So, Danzilla, I ran into this issue when I was making that video, but I think a lot of people didn't really catch what happened. So the way that fork works is, if there is a warning, then the warning overrides the LQ and DBS, the LQ and RSSI display. So you have to go into the OSD tab and turn off any warnings you don't care about, because those warnings will pop up and cover up the LQ and the RSSI. So what's happening to you is Betaflight's RSSI threshold is super high. I don't know why it's so high. It's like negative 60 dBm. And like Crossfire could theoretically be flying down around negative 95 dBm. It's way too high. So if you're flying with Crossfire and you're using RSSI dBm, you will get the RSSI dBm warning immediately. And then as soon as that warning pops up, it will override the LQ and the RSSI, and that's all you'll see. So what you need to do is one of two things. Turn off the RSSI dBm warning in the OSD tab, which is personally what I do, because like I can just kind of glance at the RSSI, and anyway, it's LQ I care most about anyway. Or you can go into the CLI, and there is a CLI parameter that lets you change that threshold. But then what do you change it to? Well, it's a little tricky to know. If you have Express LRS, if you go into the Lua script, right near where you change the hertz, 250 hertz, 100 hertz, etc., right next to that in parentheses is the dBm threshold on paper for that refresh rate. So you might think, well, I'm going to set my RSSI dBm to that number. Well, that's a bad idea. If you have a negative 110 dBm receive sensitivity, then you want to set your alarm at like negative 105 or negative 100. So you get a warning before you hit that threshold. But even then, what you don't know is you don't know the noise floor of your environment. So if you've got a negative 110 receive sensitivity, then in theory, you could keep link all the way down to like negative 110, maybe 109 or 108, but like right close to it. But if you're in an area with a lot of RF noise in the atmosphere, in the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, whatever, then you could have a noise floor of like negative 80, at which point you're not going to get to negative 110 because you'll fall below the noise. So the problem with RSSI dBm is even if you know the sensitivity of your link, you don't know the noise in the environment. And so you can't reliably predict when you're going to fail safe solely based on the RSSI dBm. The only reason RSSI dBm is really useful is for like, if you are a meter away, if you're a meter away from your receiver and you've got an RSSI dBm of like negative 80, that's just preposterously low. Your antenna is messed up, right? That's what to my mind, that's what RSSI dBm is actually good for, is sanity checking your equipment. But while you're in flight, probably you should rely on LQ. If I know that my RSSI dBm, if my receiver sensitivity is negative 110, and I see that I'm at like negative 107, then I know I'm getting close to the end of my range. Right? That's the best case. But that sensitivity number is the best case. And so it's possible that on paper you've got a sensitivity of negative 110, but you're in a very noisy environment, and so you fail safe at negative 100 or negative 95. And LQ is going to be what warns you that that's coming. If you have good RSSI dBm, but your LQ is down 95, 92, 90, 87, 85, 80, 70, 80, 70, you're about to fail safe, potentially. So ZFPV, that's not 100% true. ZFPV says anything less than negative 100 is getting sketchy. I mean, you're not wrong, ZFPV, but at the same time, you could get some radio systems that can go down to negative 115 dBm. You know, consumer systems that are sensitive down to negative 115, maybe a little lower even. And 15 dB is a lot. All right. Nice to see you, Bubby. Bubby. Nice to see you, Bubby. Let's take a look back at the Discord. People are talking about troubleshooting a problem. The Discord people are doing a great job of helping. Very nice. I mean, I don't even want to jump in on it, to be honest. Koza FPV has got an interesting question. Koza says, I have 2 batteries with uneven volts after letting them sit with a full charge for a week. Is this normal? Koza, what is the voltage of the batteries? What's the voltage of the cells? Like, how far off are they? Like, it's pretty normal. If you charge a pack to 4.2 and let it sit, by the way, it's bad to do that. It wears out the battery. It's bad for the battery, but it's not the end of the world. But if you charge to 4.2 and you leave them sit for a week and they come down to like 417, 418, 415, that's pretty normal. That's just normal. They just won't stay at full charge indefinitely, and they'll drop to maybe as low as 415. I think 417, 418 is more typical. Now, you said they were at a full charge, and now they're at 387 to 380? Am I right about that? Can you confirm that for me? They were at 4.2. Were they at 4.2? And then you just left them sitting, and now they're at 3.7, 3.8? Or we're going to have to wait 30 seconds for him to get there, because this chat's behind. I mean, if that's true, if it went from 4.2 down to 387 or 380 without you actually all by its own, it's done. Kill it, discharge it, discard it. It's not safe to use. It's not healthy. It's gonna perform badly and or like try to burn your house down. That's not a thing. Don't do that. Okay. Yes, at 4.2, one of the batteries was like 418 and 387. The other one is at like 418 and 410. Koza, if I had a cell that went from 4.2 down to 410, I would probably consider that defective and not feel it was safe to use. 418, I would say as low as maybe 415 is pretty normal. I feel like 410, if it got to 410 all by itself, that's not, I don't think that's normal. But it's, 410 is not like, oh my God, kill it right now. If it went from 4.2 down to 3.8 all by itself, get rid of it. Being left for a week and going from 4.2 down to 418 or 416 or maybe 415, I don't think that's abnormal. How do you discharge? How do you get rid of a battery? A simple way to get rid of a battery, Bill Grimes. How do you safely discharge a LiPo? A simple way to discharge a LiPo is to get some water, get a bucket and a mop. No, get a bucket and put a few tablespoons of salt in the bucket. You really don't need a lot of salt, just a little bit of salt. You put a quarter cup of salt in a 5-gallon bucket would be more than enough. And then drop the battery in. The salt makes the water more conductive. It discharges the battery. If you do that, be aware that process makes both hydrogen gas, which under the right circumstances can be flammable, and chlorine gas, which under the right circumstances can kill you. And it makes someone who said they were like a chemistry person, expert chemist, someone who had the background, did the math on how much chlorine and hydrogen you would make if you discharged a full 1300 milliamp hour battery. And it was surprising. I mean, assuming his numbers were right, and he seemed to know what he was talking about. It was enough hydrogen and chlorine that if you were to concentrate it in a small room, like a bathroom or a closet, it would be dangerous. But so if you use the salt bucket method, do it outside where there's air movement and that amounts of gas will sort of waft away. The other thing you can, yes, Quad Doc, this is how to kill the battery, not how to discharge its storage. This is how to kill it. You can also get a 12-volt light bulb or a 24-volt light bulb. If you could get truck light bulbs that are rated for 24 volts, and you can just wire it up to an XT60 and plug it in until it's dead. That's another way to do it. 661 FPV, why is the saltwater way the absolute worst way to do it? Why is that? What have people told you? I mean, it's kind of a hassle to make a bucket full of water and stuff. But, I mean, it works. It works. Sam Sparks, I have no idea why there's a gray powder collecting at the bottom of the bucket where your packs are. I don't know what that is, but I don't know what that would be. T11. We're going to talk about batteries this live stream. That's cool. Batteries are fun to talk about. My 11.1 volt battery is sitting at 11.9 volts. Am I lucky to be alive? 11.1 is the nominal voltage. The nominal voltage of a LiPo cell is 3.7 volts. That is not related in really any way to your daily use of the battery. It's just a sort of a chemistry thing. So 11.1 volts is a 3-cell battery. Full charge is 4.2 volts or 12.6. 4.2 volts per cell for a 3-cell battery or 12.6 volts. So 11.9 volts is not even fully charged, TL Levin. Kevin Nebus, I think that is probably nonsense. No offense to yourself there. Kevin Nebus says, saltwater is DJI's recommended method because it destroys the elements and renders them inert. Not simply discharging the voltage, but chemically rendering them inert. How does it do that? I mean, the saltwater doesn't get inside the cells. They're sealed. All the saltwater does is allow the electricity to discharge across the leads. How does it render them inert? I'm not sure that's right. Aerobrat has got a question. Aerobrat in the Discord server. Thank you for being a patron, Aerobrat. No signal from VTX on an AIO. Any way to properly diagnose and repair? Aerobrat, I'm not sure there's many good ways to repair a VTX on an all-in-one board. I assume you mean a VTX built into the flight controller like a tiny whoop. I mean, if it's not working, then what? Are you going to check the power supply? There's no wires. There's nothing to check unless you have the capability to diagnose a broken PCB, which most people don't. So unfortunately, I mean, check that it's like, you know, it's not misconfigured or something. But if it's actually dead, then it's not going to be easy for most people to fix. FPJV. FPJV, what AIO is it? DC points out that the Tiny Hawk, the Emax video transmitter, and this is the dumbest thing. This is the dumbest thing. And I'm only going to repeat this rant. I've made this rant before, but it was before Blunty took over the Clips channel. I'm going to do this rant, and this rant will hopefully make the Clips channel. And if it doesn't, then I'll know Blunty's not really watching the live streams. So Emax video transmitters ship in a locked mode, and that means that certain channels, they won't let you do because you're not supposed to access those channels without a ham license. Fine, whatever, I don't know. In the United States, you're not supposed to use the video transmitter at all without a ham license. So the idea that you're going to lock certain functionality away and only let people use it if they have a ham license, which, by the way, is completely on the honor system anyway, so who are you protecting? But anyway, on the Emacs video transmitter, if you set it to one of those channels, the locked channels, then it just stops transmitting. Dumb as shit. Like, then you're like, oh, my video transmitter's broken. And no, what you have to do is use the push button to change it back to an unlocked channel. It's the dumbest effing thing. Emacs, fix this. This is the dumbest thing you've ever done. I mean, maybe there's dumber. I don't know what they are. If the video transmitter is locked and you put it on a prohibited channel, don't go to that channel. Just stay on the channel you were on. Or, I don't know. But whatever you do, don't just make it look like the video transmitter is broken, and then people are like, ah, this effing thing sucks. But you just unlock the video transmitter by holding down the button while powering it up, and then you're good. It's the dumbest thing Emacs has ever done. That should be the title. The dumbest thing Emacs has ever done. That should be the title. The first time Emacs sent me a Tiny Hawk, it was the Baby Hawk. Tiny Hawk, Baby Hawk. It was the little 2-inch 3S quad. And they sent it to me, and I took it out, and I was going to fly it. And I changed the channel to Race 8, or whatever channel I changed it to. And then the video transmitter stopped working. And I was like, okay, the effing thing died. Well, I guess you're getting a shitty review, Emacs. And then later I figured it out. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing. So just unlock it. Anyway. All right. The FPJV's all-in-one that isn't working is the Flywoo Goku. I got to tell you, I don't know this VTX in depth. The next thing I would wonder is, FPJB, is does it respond in the video transmitter tab? Like, do you have device ready? Yes. Oh, hang on. Hang on, there's more. Okay, hang on. Oh, you can't leave that out. No, wait, here we go. You can't leave that out. It's not quite just the video transmitter. Oh, isn't it? It's not just the video transmitter. Hey everybody, my check engine light is on. Can you take a look? Yeah, I don't know. It's my check engine's light's on. Can you take a look and see what it is? Oh, also, there's smoke coming out of my hood. Oh, yeah, that's still kind of relevant. No LEDs on battery. Okay, yeah. No LEDs on battery means your 5-volt regulator is dead. That probably explains why your VTX isn't working. Your 5-volt regulator has died, and it won't power up. Now, when you plug in USB, it probably powers up, but the video transmitter still doesn't work because they won't let the video transmitter run off USB. Yeah, I'm just giving you a hard time, FPG. He mentioned it earlier in the conversation when he was talking to the rest of the Discord, and I just missed it. I'm just giving you a hard time, man. You don't need to apologize. So Aerobrat, no. So here's what's going on, guys. If you got a flight controller with a 5-volt regulator that's dead, it won't power up from battery, right? But the minute you plug USB in, now it will power up because USB provides 5 volts to the flight controller. Now at that point, it'll work. But as soon as you unplug USB, boom, it powers down. USB might power up the receiver. On some flight controllers, USB will power up the receiver. There's a special 5-volt pad. It's often labeled 4V5. And that pad will get power from USB, but the other 5-volt pads won't. So in a situation like that, when you're plugged into USB, you can get it to work. The video transmitter still won't work, probably, because the video transmitter probably pulls too much power, and they don't let it power up from USB. But it's probably the 5-volt regulator. And in this case, on a board like this, that probably means you scrap. Oh, God, it's a $90 board. That sucks. That sucks. Wow. That sucks. All right, so what you can do is you can buy a 5-volt regulator. So first of all, hang on, back up. Get a multimeter, plug in battery, measure voltage on the 5-volt pad. Do you have voltage there? Yes or no? If you have 5 volts on the 5-volt pad, then it's not the 5-volt regulator. But let's assume that when you measure voltage on the 5-volt pad, you have like 0 volts or 0.1 volt or something small. You can buy a 5-volt regulator and solder the output of the 5-volt regulator to one of these 5-volt pads and power the board that way. And basically use the 5-volt pad as an input. That will work a lot of the time. And with a $90 flight controller, it might be worth it. Quadfather, thank you for a $5 super chat. Quadfather. Oh, nope. Hang on. We got this? Here we go. Quadfather wants to know, what causes increasing drift in angle mode? A power cycle of the flight controller, it's solid for the remainder of the pack. Happens on 2 quads with different flight controllers. Okay, so Betaflight has an issue. And I don't know whether it's Betaflight's fault or the flight controller's fault. I think it's Betaflight's fault. But the reason I'm not sure is that this issue only happens on some flight controllers and not others. So maybe it's the flight controller's fault. And the way the issue manifests is if you're in auto level mode, the quad starts out level and then slowly tilts more and more to the left or more and more to the right. Quick Flash says it's Betaflight's fault. Do tell. Do tell. Quick Flash, in case you don't know, is the Emu Flight lead developer. Quicksilver doesn't have it. Yeah. Quicksilver isn't on as many flight controllers, though, is it? Quick Flash. It's due to accelerometer drift. Right. So the way it manifests is when you first power up, the accelerometer is correct, and then slowly over the course of the pack, it drifts to the left or drifts to the right, drifts forward or drifts backwards. But the question is, why does it happen only on certain flight controllers? And I don't just mean like a specific flight controller. I mean like a specific model of flight controller. I mean like you'll have 5 quads all with the same flight controller and 2 of them will have the problem and 3 of them won't. There are various things you can try to do to fix it and none of them work reliably. But that's what it is. So Quadfather, here's the thing. Lewis, it's not a trim problem because it gets worse over time. If you trim it, you would just have to keep trimming it over the course of the pack more and more and more. Unfortunately, there isn't a fix other than to replace your flight controller or not use angle mode. That's the problem. Like, there are things people have tried to do, like setting the accelerometer low pass to 1 hertz. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. There's no reliable fix. So unfortunately, Quadfather, I can't tell you, here's what you need to do when that happens. If it happens, you basically just don't fly angle mode on that quad or replace the flight controller. I wish I had a better answer. Quick Flash, is there a better answer? FPJV fixed his problem by moving 1 solder joint on the 5 volts of the camera. So you had a short circuited. You had a short circuit. So I'll give you another thing. Going back to this Goku question about the FPJV's video transmitter not working. Another thing that can, so if you measure between 5 volts and ground and there's continuity there, that means you got a short circuit. Somewhere you solder bridged 5 volts to ground. And that's why you're not getting voltage. You're getting 0 volts on 5 volts because it's all going right to ground. So when you, my guess is that you accidentally had a short circuit between 5 volts and ground, and when you resoldered it, it fixed it. Glad you fixed it, though. Glad you fixed it. Glad your $90 board wasn't toast. Quadfather, you're not crazy. It's a known issue, and I don't think you can fix it. You can try a few things, and maybe they'll fix it. But I want you to know that all the solutions, if you search for this problem, and the keyword for the search is accelerometer drift. So like Betaflight accelerometer drift. How to fix drifting in angle horizon mode. Well, Oscar Leong's got a tutorial. It must be right. Try this. Try this. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. The thing is, it might fix it. It might not. It's worth a try. Not gyro drift. No. Yeah, so anyway. Try it. Maybe it'll work. Brown Solo, is there a way to remove the switches? By the way, thank you for a $5 super chat, Brown Solo. Is there a way to remove the switches on the TX16S? I love my radio, but a lot of the switches I don't use and don't plan on using. You can remove them. I mean, the thing about a TX16S is, hang on. The thing about a TX16S, the switches on a TX16S are in board assemblies. So it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be easy to remove one switch but not the other. But if you want to remove a pair of switches, it's easy to take them out. You got to open the radio up and just unscrew the board and if you unplug, if you unplug the switches, I think you'll get a warning when you power up, maybe. You might be able to go into the hardware screen on the radio and tell the radio you don't have that switch. I think you could do that. And then maybe you could 3D print a plug or something to cover the hole. So yeah, I think you could do it. And then, let's see if I can do this. After you remove the switch, hold on a second. Can I do this? Simulate radio.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Ooh,
Switch
thank you.
warning.
All right, we don't need that. So then, if you press the sys key, and then you go to, hello, there we go. Go to the hardware. This is so much better than trying to show you my radio. Go to the hardware screen. You should have pot slider switches. Yeah. So here are your switches. So whichever switch you removed, change it to none. And then you won't get any warnings when the radio can't find the switch. Make sense? All right. Nice. FPJV, the reason the short stopper didn't pick up the short circuit is that the short circuit was on the 5-volt rail. So 5 volts was being shorted to ground. The 5-volt regulator basically shut down when it detected this. And the amount of current that the 5-volt regulator can supply is so small that it wasn't tripping your short saver. Thank you to Aerobrat as well for working with FPJV on that one. I want to say, Aerobrat, by the way, Aerobrat, apparently you helped this person. Should Aerobrat be a know-it-all? Aerobrat isn't tagged as a know-it-all. I don't know, Aerobrat. Maybe this is a one-time thing. That's great to see there. A lot of times, on my Discord server, people will ask a question, and then people will be helping, right? And it's one of the best things about my Discord server. Not to blow my own horn, but it's really not blowing my own horn. It's really thanking the people on my server who are so kind and helpful. And it's I can only I hope that it says something about me. I would take it as a big compliment if it said something about me that such kind and helpful people wanted to be on my server. I don't know. Probably doesn't. Probably just a fluke. But sometimes, Aerobrat, people will be helping someone with a problem, and they'll go down the wrong road and give maybe incorrect advice. And then I'll come along and go, well, have you tried this? And sometimes that turns out to be the right thing. And the people who were helping will be like, oh, hey, sorry. And I just want to say, don't. I mean, the number one thing that you need is a sincere desire to help somebody who needs help and has a question or has a problem. And that's where you get, that's how you learn how, like the first time you do it, maybe you give the wrong advice and then somebody else comes along and goes, well, actually, have you tried this? And you're like, oh shit, I was way off base. But the next time that problem comes up, you got it because you remember the last time when you didn't have it. So don't let the fact that maybe you were barking up the wrong tree on this one. I don't know if you were or not because I was doing a live stream. I wasn't following the whole conversation. But if you were barking up the wrong tree and somebody comes along and says, hey, you're barking up the wrong tree, you're way off base. You go, oh, well, crap. You know, at least you cared. At least you were sincerely trying to help, which is way more than a lot of people. You could be the smartest person in the world. And if you're not here helping someone with that knowledge, you're no good to, I mean, you're probably good to somebody. You're living your best life, but you're not helpful here in this moment. So it doesn't matter how smart you are if you don't have the sincere desire to help people who have a problem, and if you're not then present to see their problem and try to help them with it. And I think a lot of people think that if you're not the smartest person in the room, then you shouldn't try to help people. And I disagree. I mean, there is a point where your lack of knowledge makes more problems than it solves. And you're just sort of getting in the way. And you have to have enough self-awareness to kind of know maybe whether you're... But I think there's many people who could be helpful and maybe aren't because they think they don't know enough. And a sincere desire to help and a willingness to be present and to help is the first step. And then you learn. Because if you only solve the problems that you experience, then you solve a small set of problems. But if you help other people solve their problems, you solve a much larger set of problems and you learn and grow. Want to get better at Betaflight? Set up an email address and invite people to send you problems and tell them you'll help them for free. And in like a year, you'll know everything about Betaflight. Anyway, there you go. Be honest about what you don't know. Be humble. And be sincere in your desire to help. And then that's where you start. Okay. Thank you, Airbrett, for trying to help. Swift69, thank you for a $5 super chat. What's the difference between left-hand, right-hand polarized, and what difference does DPI make? Okay, so DBI. Okay. Swift69, I want to invite you. I'm going to answer your question. I'm not blowing you off. I've got a video. I've got a video that goes into... Dagnabbit. Are you kidding me? How could that video not show up? You son of a... What have I named this video? Are you kidding me? There we go. Let's fix that right now. Left versus right circular polarization. Which is better? Parentheses. LHCP versus RHCP. There. Now we've got that keyword. I'll save that in the future. So I've got this video that I'm going to invite you to check out. Swift69. Which goes into some detail. The short version is that your antennas need to match polarization. So if you have a left-hand antenna on the quad, you need to have a left-hand antenna on the goggle, right-hand antenna on the quad, right-hand antenna on the goggle. That's how you get the best reception. If you mismatch your antennas, you'll get a lot of loss between them, and you'll get basically weaker signal and less range. dBi refers to the gain of the antenna. A higher gain antenna, so like a 5 dBi antenna versus a 2 dBi, a 7 or a 9 dBi versus a 5 dBi. The higher the gain, the more focused the antenna's beam is. Think about the difference between a light bulb broadcasting light into a room 360 degrees and a spotlight, right? With a very focused beam. A higher gain antenna will have a focused beam. So a higher gain antenna will give you more range when you're in the beam. But the higher the gain, the narrower the beam. Pablo Gonzalez says, I was just wondering if all antennas have a left or right-handedness, because mine doesn't say. No, so there's 3 types of polarization. There's 2 types of polarization, circular polarized and linear polarized. Circular polarized antennas are on a scale from fully left to fully right hand. Okay? And then linear is technically on that scale. Linear is 0 degrees circular. So I guess technically linear is just a subset of circular, I guess is another way to think about it. But the way that most people think about antennas is that you can buy a left-hand polarized, a linear, or a right-hand polarized. So most people who aren't antenna experts would think of there being 3 types of polarization. You probably have a linear polarized antenna, Pablo Gonzalez. S.R. Tolman, thank you for a $10 super chat. I have several lithium-ion batteries, and at least one cell on each has a resistance 10 to 15% less than the rest. Is this normal, and can they safely hold a charge longer before storage charging? Okay, so the first thing I would say, S.R. Tolman, is that I don't think any of that has a relationship to how long you should leave them at full charge before you storage charge them. I don't think that's related to the internal resistance or anything. I would treat all batteries pretty much the same. All lithium-ion or lithium polymer batteries. I think it's the chemistry mostly that determines how long you can leave them fully charged. So like there are specially designed lithium iron phosphate batteries that are designed to hold a full charge for a long time without taking as much damage. Lead acid batteries, like in your car, they're designed to be at full charge almost all the time, right? That's how they're designed. When you say you have lithium-ion batteries, just because they're in that 18650 form factor, you may not know what their chemistry is. They may be lithium-ion, they may be lithium polymer. You should really look. You may need to look at the data sheet or the specs to be sure. But the fact that one has a slightly different internal resistance, the first thing I would think about this SR Tolman is that internal resistance is dependent on two main factors. I was just making sure there wasn't a third one. Two of the main factors that affect internal resistance are the temperature of the cell and the state of charge, or the charge level. So if you have a battery and one of the cells is at 4.2 volts and one of the cells is at 4.1 volts, for whatever reason, it's out of balance, and you measure the internal resistance, that 4.2 volt cell will have significantly lower internal resistance than the one at 4.1 volts. So likewise with temperature, a few degrees Celsius difference in temperature can make a significant difference in the internal resistance. So when you're going to measure internal resistance, the first thing you need to do is have the battery inside at room temperature for about 2 or 3 hours. And in my experience, that will mostly neutralize any temperature difference. If you've just come in from flying, the cells on the outside of the pack are colder or hotter than the cells on the inside of the pack because they're exposed to the ambient air. So if you're flying and it's a freezing cold day, the inner cells are going to be warm, the outer cells are going to be cold. If you're flying and it's a boiling hot day, well, usually potentially the inner cells are still going to be warm, but the outer cells will not be as warm. It just depends. So you bring the battery in and you let its temperature normalize for a couple hours. And the other thing is that anytime you test internal resistance, if you just come in from a hot day and the battery is really warm, you're going to read a very low internal resistance, and that's going to throw off your results. So normalize the temperature and then normalize the state of charge. Measure the internal resistance at the very end of a charge cycle. If you have a charger with a dedicated IR check mode, fully charge the battery, balance charge it, take it off the charger, and then run the IR check and measure the IR. However, if your charger, like the ISDT chargers, only measures internal resistance during charging, that can be very misleading because you start the charge and your battery's at 3.7 volts, right? And a few seconds after you start charging, you can sort of roll the wheel and you can see the internal resistance. That number doesn't mean anything because the battery is not at a full charge. It's going to be a super high number. And as the battery charges up, the internal resistance will come down. The only meaningful way to measure internal resistance is at the battery normalized at a consistent temperature, like 19 degrees Celsius room temperature is the sort of standard way of doing that, and then at full charge. So when you say you have a battery and one cell has a different internal resistance, the first thing I would wonder is if you have controlled for those factors. Super Deluxe, thank you for a 1234, $12.34 super chat. FPV is love. You're right, Super Deluxe. B-Man FPV, thanks for a $2 super chat. How bad do you want to try that manned quad? You mean the one that Lexi Jansen flies? Yeah. I mean, I would love to fly it in a simulator, but it sounds like they don't let you flip it, so I don't know how much fun it could possibly be. Lord Henricks, thank you for repeating this question. I am glad you did. I saw it. I thought it was interesting, and I might not have gotten back to it if you had not re-asked it. Have you noticed a cell having a higher voltage than the rest since adding a TVS diode? No, and it's not possible that the TVS diode did that. That's a strong statement, but I'm going to stick by it. A TVS diode sits across the discharge leads of the battery. It sits across the main discharge leads. There is no way, there is no possible mechanism for a load that sits across the discharge leads of the battery to control which cells discharge and which cells don't. There is no way. All the load does is suck current, suck electrons or whatever out of the battery, and the cells give that current, give that electricity to the discharge lead, and the reason the cells discharge differently is due to their internal resistance. So a cell with a lower internal resistance will give More or less? Will it give more because it gives more current freely, and so it gets a lower voltage? Or will it give... No, a cell current through a circuit is constant. But the cells with higher internal resistance will waste more energy as heat and will end up at a lower voltage. Kirchhoff's current law says current... So the current through the cells is constant. Hang on, I have to think about this. If you're pulling 1 amp from the battery, 1 amp is moving through all the cells and out the other side. That cannot be violated. The watts is different because the voltage may be different and the amount of energy wasted as heat is going to be different. But 1 amp is coming out of those cells. Yeah, so the lower resistance cells will have a higher voltage because they waste less energy as heat. The higher resistance cells will get hotter and waste more energy as heat and end up at a lower voltage. Okay, I got there. But the takeaway is that a load across the main discharge leads cannot in any way cause cell 1 to be lower or cell 2 to be higher. Cannot happen. No mechanism for that. So I think you're just imagining it. I mean, you're probably right that one cell has a higher voltage, but that's just your battery being imbalanced. Or your cell checker is messed up. You think about that? Well, on every single one of my batteries, cell 1 is 0.1 volts high. Could your cell checker just be messed up? Maybe. Alrighty. Let's see here. Carbon cage FPV. Have you heard of Kin Frames based in Nevada? Nope, I have not. Should we look at them? Should we look at Kin Frames? How do I find their website? I gotta say, Kin FPV Facebook. What do we got here? Nope. Sorry for yawning. You guys are just really boring. No. I don't know why I'm yawning. Newly imagined and completely revamped. Fix V3. Designed to be your go-to CineWhoop. Anybody who puts a hyphen in CineWhoop, I'm immediately suspicious of. Kin FPV, I'm watching you. Anybody who hyphenates CineWhoop. I don't know about that. Cine Beast. Okay, that's okay to hyphenate. What do we got here? Aluminum guards. Yeah. Aluminum arm guards? I mean, I guess they're going to be more durable than plastic. Aluminum isn't that strong, especially... I mean, that's going to bend. Is that going to bend? You guys can't see this, I'm sorry. It feels like that's going to bend. I mean, this piece of aluminum... Could I just bend this in my fingers easily? What do we got here? It's a slam design. It's a slam design CineWhoop. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not a solid bottom plate. If you're going to do a carbon fiber CineWhoop, I think that changeable arms is desirable. because they'll have better resonance characteristics, I think, than a big solid plate. You're not going to change too many arms on a Cinewhoop, don't get me wrong. This is clever. Let's see what Chris Rosser thinks of this resonance. So there are prop guards. Oh, got a vertical air unit. That's clever too. That's clever. The squirt did that. The air unit, you got this slam design, but where is it? The air unit or HC0 goes in vertical here. Clever. It's clever. There's prop guards here, but there's no prop protection. So some Cinewhoop pilots are going to argue that they're not comfortable flying this around actors or cars or other valuable things, that they're going to want more protection than this. The arms get super narrow, but ultimately, I mean, as for a Cinewhoop, durability is not like the number one concern because you're not bashing it. They do get super thin, though, don't they? Yeah. That's interesting. What else we got? What else we got? This, I hate. I hate this. This was a bad idea. And you're a bad person for doing it. No. It made a frame out of aluminum. This is a terrible idea. The carbon fiber is the right material in almost every case for like a 5-inch mini quad. Metal frames have the wrong combination of attributes. So a quadcopter frame, it needs to be lightweight, it needs to be durable, it needs to be resilient, and it needs to be stiff. And metal is stiff and sometimes lightweight, but usually not as lightweight as carbon. Somebody do the math. Is 7075 aluminum lighter than carbon fiber? You know, cubic millimeter for cubic millimeter? Is it less dense? But the real reason this is a pain in the ass is that, and this is what frame designers who are trying to be clever always seem to forget, every 5-inch mini quad frame will break. Because eventually you will crash it and you will break it. It will crash hard enough to break. So if you give me a frame that is 5 times more durable than carbon fiber and 10 times more expensive, the fact that it's 5 times more durable, I'm still going to break it. Because I'm going to get into an accident that was 10 times more powerful than was necessary to break my carbon fiber arm, and it's also going to bend or break my aluminum arm. See what I mean? When I crash hard, it's hard enough to break my carbon fiber frame, and it will be hard enough to bend or break or deform my aluminum frame. The only difference being that my aluminum frame is now going to cost me a shitload of money to repair, and my carbon fiber frame cost me a few bucks. Aluminum, thank you, Quick Flash and Bubby. Aluminum is heavier than carbon fiber. So it's heavier than carbon fiber. It's significantly more expensive. It's more expensive as a raw material, and it's more difficult to mill and machine. What's the advantage here? What's the advantage? Oh, now hang on. You gonna build me a full-scale airplane? Oh, yeah. There's a reason they built airplanes out of aluminum and not carbon fiber. Okay. But for a 5-inch mini quad frame that you can cut out of sheet carbon is the right material. And most other alternatives, it's just so ideal that every time people try to come up with a clever titanium frame, aluminum frame, whatever, it's usually worse. It's a gimmick. It's just a gimmick. It's just a gimmick. So, I mean, kudos for coming up with this gimmick. If you built this frame because you were trying to just come up with a cool gimmick, more power to you. It's a very cool thing. It's not better, though. It's not better. In fact, it's worse in most ways. It says it's 155 grams. I'm impressed if it is 155 grams. That's actually not that far off from a carbon fiber frame. It won't hold up, though. It will not hold up. And again, I don't want to... I feel bad because, like, Ken FPV is going to wake up in the morning to an inbox full of people saying, hey, Bardwell talked about you on his live stream. And I feel bad. But, like, manufacturers... It isn't going to stop me from saying whatever I'm thinking, though. Manufacturers always say, we put the frame through the ringer. We brutally abused it, and it didn't break. They always say that. And then they give it to me, and I break it. So never, ever, no matter who the manufacturer is, if it's Tommy Tibahia, I only think of that because he has recently been talking about a frame that, I put it through the ringer. Never, ever trust a frame manufacturer who says, I beat the hell, we tested the hell out of this thing. It's so durable. It might be, but don't believe them until people who aren't them test it. Anyway. There you go. Oh, here we go. We've got a carbon fiber frame. Maybe this one's better. Oh, it looks okay. Yeah. Looks what the dickens? What's going on at the end of the arm here? We got plastic coming up through the arm. Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, it looks fine. Looks fine. Alrighty, well, there you go. Oh, here we go. A little 5-inch freestyle. What's the date on this? March 11th. Cipher. Yeah. Got a toilet tank battery mount there. Clever. Yeah, it looks okay. No complaints. All right. Okay, enough about that. Well, there you go. You asked. Yeah, I delivered. Carbon cage. Kinframes.com is their website. Thank you, Phantom FPV. Kinframes.com. Okay, well, hopefully they see some business. Sorry, Kinframes. The next thing that will happen is, hey, we heard you talked about our frames on your live stream. We think you really don't get it. Can we send you one and you build it out and fly it and then see what you think? Maybe I just don't get it. Alrighty. FPV Sneak in the Discord wants me to help them fixing prop wash in this black box log. FPV Sneak, the thing is, the black box log is not going to really change my advice. And we can look at it. We're going to look at it. You sent it. We're going to look at it. I'm going to take the time to do that. But my advice is probably going to be the same. Regardless. Hello? There we go. We got a black box here. Here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at debug mode here, and I'm going to see that you did in fact record gyro scaled. Without that, we really can't even start. So good, you did that. Debug was set to gyro scaled. Excellent. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the roll axis right here to bring up the waterfall chart. And let's see. No, that's right. Your logging rate, your logging goes up to 1 kilohertz. I hope you guys can't see that. At the very top here of the x-axis is 1000 hertz. So you were logging at 2 kilohertz. We have up to 1 kilohertz of data. That's good. That's if you got up to 500 hertz, that's okay. But getting up to 1 kilohertz means we're really going to see most everything. And we are going to look. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to go just past the beginning of the flight, down here in the lower left. I'm going to press I to set the in point. I'm going to go, what happened at the end here? It looks like there was some dweedling about at the end. I'm going to just cut off the end of the flight here by pressing O. And that's going to help clean up this data a little bit by removing the bumps and jiggles at the very beginning and end of the flight. And I frankly don't see a lot of noise here. Like if we don't touch this slider can change the color scaling. Ah, that's terrible. So what I always do is I just kind of leave that slider where it is. We don't see a ton of noise here, but I do see a little bit of a vertical resonance line. A vertical line like this right here is a sign of frame resonance, but it's at such a low frequency, 100, 200. It's down around 50 hertz, which is really shockingly low. Why don't I see the filters? Where's my filters? Take a look at the pitch axis. So on the pitch axis, we've got a little bit of resonance. Again, another sort of vertical line here. A little over 200 hertz. That's more normal for frame resonance. And if we look at the yaw axis, really nothing of note on the yaw axis. Now let's make this a little brighter. Oh, yeah. So normally when looking at this information, you would see a vertical diagonal swoosh. That's the motors. And you'd see several of them for each of the motor harmonics. This looks really bad, but remember I turned it up. It wasn't that bad before I turned up the noise, turned up the volume, the color, the intensity. I am very curious about this on the roll axis. This is potentially problematic. This big vertical streak here at such a low frequency is definitely something worth looking into. Like, I don't even think that's frame resonance. It's so low, to be honest with you. So we analyze your filters, and then we ask, where are you at with your filtering? And unfortunately, we can look. Here we go. No, here we go. We can look here and we can see your actual pitch, roll, and yaw, right? Betaflight 430. Unfortunately, I wish the black box viewer would update to show the sliders, because it's like pretty useless here, because everybody is doing PID tuning with sliders. So telling me the actual numbers is really not helpful anymore. It's a free project and everybody works on it for free. So, like, you know, it's not like I can demand that someone do this. But unfortunately, we can kind of look at your PIDs and say, like, what's going on? Your filters, I'm not even sure I could make a lot of sense out of, because I really just don't know the filter numbers very much at all. And in fact, what's going on here? I don't think it can even, it's not even really, it doesn't even seem to be reading your filters, to be honest with you. Maybe that's a Betaflight 4.3 problem. Oh, here we go. Unknown header fields. Yeah, so here's the information about your filters, but honestly, without being able to look at sliders, I can't really give you much meaningful information or meaningful advice. So, FPV Sneak. The advice is basically the same. The first thing you do is you have RPM filter working. The second thing you do is you work your filter sliders to the right until you start to see things like hot motors, signs of flyaway, indications that your filtering has reached its limit, okay? And then, I mean, you move the filter sliders back a little bit from there. Then, once your filters are as far to the right as you can comfortably get them, then you raise the master PID slider, and you look for, again, things like bounce back on flips and rolls. You look for, again, signs that there's excess D-gain, which is the same as the signs of the filter sliders being too far to the right. You look for hot motors, trilling oscillation, etc. Once you get the PD slider as far to the right as it can go comfortably without causing problems, then you adjust the PD balance, and then, you know, you've sort of maximized your D gain and you have the correct PD balance, and your prop wash oscillation should be as good as it can be. I mean, that's a very simple way of explaining the tuning process, and I've got, you know, 45-minute long videos where I go through the process with a real quad. But I can't just look at your log and tell you, here's the one thing you need to do, without knowing where you are in that process. And here's the thing. You probably didn't start out with that process. And if you didn't start with that process, then I don't know what to tell you what to do. Go back to the beginning and start with that process. But looking at your logs, the number one thing I see is that weird 50 hertz vertical resonance, and I'd be trying to figure out what was causing that. Santa Barbara points out, Santa Barbara, does the Black Box Explorer 3.6 nightly have sliders? Is that what you're telling me? Oh, nice. Well, I gotta hope that releases soon. Little one-on-one, thank you for a $10 super chat. Need a flight controller or firmware that lets me toss it in the air and it will hover at altitude to other things like follow an object or be controlled with a radio link. Little one-on-one, Pixhawk is the Argipilot is the closest you're going to get to that. I don't know if it has follow me. I mean, if anything does, it probably does, but I'm going to guess that Argipilot is the closest you're going to get in like an open source non-commercial firmware. So that's what you should look for. 661 FPV, good suggestion. And Bobby Baggs made the same suggestion. That 50 hertz vibration might be a long antenna. You have a long VTX antenna and it's flopping around at the end of a mount. Very good suggestion. iNav doesn't have follow me. CR Crozies says Pix4 has follow me. Okay. So little one-on-one Pixhawk or with Argipilot firmware is the firmware you want. Hey Ciati, when are you leaving for Rampage? Should probably ask him in a private chat. Ciati, I'm coming through Atlanta. I'm coming through Atlanta Wednesday and leaving Thursday morning. You want to ride with me, let me know. I'd love to ride with you. It does mean I have to go back through Atlanta on the way home. I guess it's not the end of the world. You're leaving Thursday at noon? You're welcome to ride with me. Yeah. No, that's perfect. I'm going to be in Atlanta Wednesday and leaving Thursday. If you want to ride. I don't know what you're planning on driving. You got the Miata yet? I don't think he's got the Miata. Do you have the Miata? What are you driving right now? I said draft. Ciati said draft. He's got the Mazda 2. Oh, new brakes and fresh coilovers. Uh-oh. Yeah, he don't want to ride passenger. Mazda 2. Oh, wait. Mazda 2. That's not what I thought it was. I'm sure he could beat me around a track with it. No, don't give up on the Miata, Ciati. I mean, at the very least, sell it to somebody. So sad. Borrow Ken Heron's Mazda. Did Ken ever get his Mazda fixed? Somebody hit him in his Mazda in one of his vlogs. I saw it. Just sideswiped him a little. The car was probably fine, but still. Hectectica, the Miata was in an accident and like the radiator mount broke. I don't know what else was wrong. Danzilla the Terrible says anything would be better than a Mustang. You shut your mouth. I'm taking it in tomorrow to get new tires. I was like, hey, I'm about to go on a long road trip to Rampage. Maybe I should check my tires because I know they've been getting close to the end of their life. Anybody in the chat want to guess how many miles I got on these tires? They're Pirelli P0s. I think they're P0s. Feel free to guess. I've had the car almost 3 years. And so I put my finger on, felt the little wear indicators. And sure enough, the front tires were they were probably at, 3 or 4 30 seconds. Pretty close to the bottom. And that's a good idea. David Gilmer, I should take it to a car park and finish him off with some burnouts. If I wasn't taking it to get new tires tomorrow, could do some burnouts at Rampage, but then I might not make it home. The rear tires probably have 4 or 5 30 seconds on them, just by my fingertip measurement. But the front tires are between 3 and 4, and I'm like, that's pretty low. So I'm gonna get new tires put on it for my road trip. Can you even do burnouts with an automatic? Shut your mouth, Yarbs. There's a burnout mode that locks the front brakes. They just go into the little menu. And you do burnout or line lock or whatever. The answer is 25,000 miles. 25,000 miles. It's not a lot of miles. There you go. Yeah. So get new tires tomorrow. Yeah. Ken Heron is driving his cop car to Rampage. That's cool. That's pretty cool. I don't know why the fronts are so different than the rears either. I rotate them every 10,000 miles, which is what I thought the rotation schedule was. Apparently that's not it, because they're significantly different from each other. So that's unfortunate. Alrighty. Well, folks, we are coming up on the end of the stream. 7 minutes till 10. Ciati says he's not streaming tonight. His throat's a wreck, and he has to prep for Rampage. It's true. I should be prepping for Rampage. Oops. Ciati, I've decided I'm going to do a... Here's one of the problems I have with Rampage, is I have 7 different quads. 3 of them are flyable right now. 4 of them are in various stages of disrepair. If I were to repair them all before Rampage, I would have 7 different flying quads for which I had no spare parts. And I'm like, this is a nightmare. This is a disaster. Someone out there with one quad that doesn't work is like, oh, it's a disaster, Bardwell. Shut up. Fair enough. That's a fair point. I'm probably going to give some of them away on my Patreon if it makes you feel better. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. The Rotor Riot solderless build. You can replace every part on this build without touching a soldering iron. I am going to bring the Rotor Riot solderless build to Rampage, and that is all I'm going to fly all weekend. And if I break something, they'll have spares. And at the end of the weekend, I'm going to tally up how many things I broke. And then we're going to make a video out of it, and I'm going to call it a business expense. All right. Lord Henrik's supercapacitors, the problem is they're not useful for lipos because the voltage of the supercapacitor is super low. I think they're typically like 3.3 or 5 volts. And so in order to get up to 18 volts or whatever, you have to put a bunch of them in series. You have to put 6 or 8 of them in series to get up to like a 6S voltage. At which point, the weight of the supercapacitor and so on, it just doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. All righty. All right, folks. We are going to wrap up the stream. We're going to wrap up the stream. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the news. We'll do the FPV news, and then Wednesday I am leaving for Rampage. And Siati, if you want to carpool out there on Thursday, we'll talk about it. But in the meantime, I think we're going to wrap up. Lord Henricks, it's no problem. You weren't spamming. Everybody thinks supercapacitors are a great idea for FPV. A supercapacitor is basically just a very low resistance battery. But the problem is their size compared to a LiPo is, for the number of milliamp hours you get, they are bigger and heavier. So they don't really give you a lot of benefit in an FPV application. Like, what's a supercapacitor good for? If you have a DVR and you want to have power for 30 seconds after the power is removed to let you close out the video file, a supercapacitor could be good for that. It would give you, it would charge up quickly and then give you a minute or two of power. If you have a case where you need to be able to charge quickly, they charge up very quickly, and then have a lot of charge and discharge cycles. Supercapacitors are good for that. Unlike batteries, you can charge and discharge a supercapacitor a lot of times, and they don't degrade like batteries. They just suck up the energy, discharge the energy. They're really good for that. So if you have a situation where you need to you don't want to stick a lithium battery in something, and then 2 years later the battery's dead and it's worn out and you got to open the thing up and replace it, you might use a supercapacitor. But all of the things that supercapacitors are good at, FPV doesn't really value them. And supercapacitors are bigger and heavier than a LiPo, milliamp hour or watt hour per watt hour. That's what I should say, watt hour per watt hour. And the big thing is that supercapacitors are usually, I don't know if they're always, but the ones I've seen are all like 3.3 volts or something, which means to get them up to 26 volts or whatever for a 6S battery, you need, 26 divided by 3.3. 8, 9. 26 divided by 3.3 is 7.8. So you need 8 of them to get up to 26 volts in series, which is just a mess. Just a mess. At which point you may as well just get a bigger LiPo. That's my point. All right. All right, folks, we're going to finish up. Thank you so much to everybody who came out. Thank you for being here. I will see some of you at Rampage, and I will hopefully see most of you tomorrow for the FPV News with It's Blunty. But that's going to do it for now. Happy flying, everybody, and have a good night.